Hi, blog watchers and blog readers from Eliminated. This is Michelle, and I'm here to talk about tonight with you what it means to eat normally when you are in recovery. So, I got a recent email message through our Facebook page, and the reader said that after 17 years, she is able to manage her eating disorder but can't reach to eating without dieting. And she believed that a lot of people in recovery could benefit from a video log about this. And I think that's true. Unfortunately, I've only been in recovery for about 5 or 6 years now, and my experience in learning how to eat normally might be a little bit different as I had a very actually easy time with this. For me, once I rid of the behaviors and started to kind of come together psychologically with my healing, it was a lot easier to figure out how to eat normally. And for most people, um, their first meetings with dietitians are kind of the first experiences that they get back in with food. Usually, when you're recovering from an eating disorder and you have a professional team that you work with a dietitian, a therapist, a psychiatrist, and anyone else on the team. So basically, your experiences with getting back into the food realm of things is with the dietitian. And normally, typically, when you're meeting with your dietitian, you kind of hate what they have to tell you and you're not interested in what they're saying because they're talking about the very thing that you hate the most, which is food. And in my recovery, I was always told, well, in my early recovery, I was told that eating disorders are a lot different to recover from than, let's say, giving up smoking or being an alcoholic. Because when you're an alcoholic, in a sense, you can live without the alcohol, but you can't live without food when you're recovering from an eating disorder. And that's why we have our dietitian. Dietitians normally give you exchanges, which is list of food and what it means for your meal plan in terms of your allotted calories and what you should be eating each day and how to kind of have something planned, but then if there's something else that you want to eat, you can swap them, and exchanges can be a carb for a certain carb, a protein for a certain protein. Dietitians will work with you and make your meal plan very scheduled and very pre-planned so that you are prepared for each day in terms of what you're going to eat. But sometimes this doesn't work for people, and I really found that this didn't work for me, but it worked in the beginning to get back to normal with food because I couldn't really start my relationship with food without having it being very structured first. So I followed the meal plan to the perfectly. I didn't really venture off from it, and that worked for me in the beginning. But then, in terms of trying to get more adventurous with my food and my eating, I realized that this meal plan thing wasn't working out for me, and I just kind of wanted to go back to way long ago when I didn't use any kind of eating disorder behaviors and kind of just go be back to normal. And a lot of times when we're recovering, people say, just eat. Like, you don't need to have this eating disorder, just eat. But that's not an effective thing. And we want to be normal more than anyone else. We're sick of not being normal. But that was kind of actually a trick for me, was looking at everyone else and looking at my friends and family and seeing how they would eat normally. I think maybe a trick with this is actually watching little kids, because little kids know when they're full, they are full. They don't want any more food. And that's because they listen to their bodies. Even when their parents are saying eat, 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 or you can't leave the dinner table, their bodies are telling them no, they're finished. And that's what we need to learn, is how to pay attention to our normal hunger cues and satiety and figure out when our bodies are actually full. It's very important to think of things on a hunger scale. I was taught this at the Renfrew Center, that if you're paying attention to your hunger scale, where 10 is like Thanksgiving full and 0 feels like you haven't eaten in forever, you normally want to be in the 4, 5, or 6 range where you're full enough that you don't feel hungry for at least 2 to 3 hours. So after I kind of learned when my body decided that it was full and learned to eat slowly, I'm a very mindful eater. I like to take my time and be slow and kind of savor and enjoy every bite. That's important because you realize how important each bite is, and what that food doesn't have to be reduced to just food. It can actually be an experience. So after you pay attention to what you're eating in that sense and paying attention to your normal hunger cues, that's kind of actually how I started eating normally. Was I'm hungry when I first wake up, so my body naturally wants to eat breakfast, so I do that. And I just kind of eat what I feel like, and I really try to just totally block out those any kind of messages that are saying anything that my mind might be telling me. I use logic and what I've learned from my nutritionist and what I've learned from any dietitian, and what I see other people eating, I can kind of get a sense of what is actually normal and typical for anyone my age to be eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's not necessarily appropriate for you to always follow what other people are doing, but to relearn what's normal and what's eating disordered in that way, it can be helpful. In terms of not dieting, it's important if you're still dieting to realize that you probably still have a component of restricting that's still a part of your eating disorder that you haven't moved on from. And if that's true for you, I encourage you to the fullest to talk to your nutritionist, dietitian, and therapist. Nutritionist and dietitian are interchangeable. But therapist, definitely, you need to discuss why it is that you cannot let go of the dieting. And the nutritionist will help you replace the dieting with normal, healthy eating patterns. Your definition of dieting may vary across the board. So dieting may just be refraining from desserts still, and if you still have a fear of desserts, you definitely need to talk about that with your treatment professionals. If you are scared of French fries, or if you have any fear foods, then you can maybe manage your eating disorder, but then you're not really in full recovery, and you still have some pieces of that eating disorder that are left with you that you can let go of. So if you think that you cannot still let go of dieting in any shape or form, I urge you to talk about that with one of your professionals and work through that, because you can let go of that and realize how to eat without dieting. I plan on revisiting this message of how to fully recover without dieting more. And for now, this is what I'm going to leave you with. But if you have any more questions and specifics to what I said, please comment on the blog. And if you have any more blog or video log suggestions, please also comment those, or tweet me on Facebook at EliminatingED, or like us on Facebook at Stop Proanna to learn more or ask me more questions. Thank you so much, and have an awesome recovery-filled Monday.